I'm so happy to host you. So I'm Anne-Laure Petit, I'm director at Alliance Française, displaced though. So this is a French cultural center for language also. So we are a school for language, for French language and Nepali language. And we are also a center for cultural events. The event today is part of a cycle of debates. So we already had one in Kathmandu Square about architecture. We have this one today, and we're going to have another one about waste workers mainly and waste management in December. So each time we do this kind of debates, we try to work with people from Nepal, obviously, and this time we were lucky, thanks to Kalu and Helena. We have Shubi here today, who is going to moderate and who is going to introduce everybody. Yeah, so I'm not going to be more long, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Anlo. So, yes, no flash photography, but you can take pictures, videos. If you do, please tag AFK Kathmandu on your social medias and us. Okay, thank you for the consent. So hi, my name is Subi. I use they them pronouns. I am the moderator for this panel discussion, and I am queer, transmasculine, and just involved in the arts, in theater, and just in various little things. So I would like to let each of the panelists introduce themselves, actually. So we'll just go down the line. So yes, introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns. What do you do? Why are you here?
Hi, everyone. I'm Aditi Sherpa. I go by he, they pronouns, but then I'm gender fluid. So occasionally when I'm feeling like it, I'm she. Right. I'm 18 years old and I'm taking a gap year and I do art. I do like singing, songwriting, all that, whatever I can. I try to do it. And yeah, it's nice to be here and, you know, to represent the Kiwan, to, you know, represent a gender fluid person.
We always appreciate diversity, to be honest.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Subi, for having us here, and have a great evening, everyone. So, saying that, my name is Smith Tamang, and I am a human being. So I have nothing specific like you need to maybe put me as in like this. I think I am a human being, and I like what others sees me as, because it's their perception towards me, but I see everyone as equal people. So that's that. And talking about my work, I'm trying to do a lot of things in life, a lot of things that a human being can do. Example, I've been doing Zumba, I've been teaching dance, and then I'm also starting my acting career now, and I'm also teaching runway skills, and I'm also like trying to do a lot of things like how I am here today. You know, it's a very exciting to be here, and yes, looking forward. Sorry, I'm very nervous.
Oh, it's all good.
Evening, everybody. I'm Aditya Rai, and I identify myself as a gay disabled person. And since from 2013, as I open out my sexuality, so I have been started activism since from that moment in LGBTI organization called Blue Diamond Society. So right now I'm working in child right project and as a program officer. So basically, right in November 2022, I just opened Rainbow Disability Nepal that works for the disability LGBTI people, youth like me and community like me. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm representing and I'm advocating for my community people. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
So we have a full range of skills here. And we're also involved in art. Aditi also has artwork in the back on, what is this, my left? Yes, that's my left side. On the left side is Aditi's works. They're also one of the panelists and exhibitionists. So that's kind of cool. And then, yes, we are all human. I totally agree. Why do we subscribe ourselves to labels? I mean, if it wasn't for labels, though, I mean, we wouldn't understand ourselves at the same time, right? I mean, how have labels shaped us? And then also, I mean, what's queerness? There's a variety of identities represented here on stage as well. What is queerness to you? Why labels? Why do we label ourselves? Let's talk about this.
For me, from my point of view, I think it's the society, not the generation now, but the generation that has been happening for a long time, you know. So and then also there was like less people who would speak up about what they feel and how they feel. And I think for now, for me, one of my purpose is to speak up and tell people that I might do things different, but that doesn't makes me different. It just my reach is different. But at the end of the day, if I go back home, if I do something, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to think. I'm going to do what a human being does. Like, you know, so I think as long as I can reach out today, I've been reach out to a lot of people about, see, I don't see myself as like this or that, but I see myself as a human being because I am humble, I am eating, I am doing a lot of things that a basic human being does. Like everyone does it. Right? It's just my thoughts and my reach is different than what the society has labeled a man to do. You know? So that's
Labels say, like, some people do say that we don't really need labels when it, like, people say that, you know, the queer community, when it go, like, they've kind of like, the whole thing about labels, it's turned more complex. So people don't really understand like pronouns and all that. Like, why do you need that? You know, like, they're so used to sticking with what we've been taught since our childhood, right? But then there's the thing about queerness, okay? It's like breaking from the binary, right? Something different from the binary. So, like, the norm is a woman, a man, right? And when you're growing up in a society like that, there's that notion where you don't feel like you fit in. And I feel like labels, they help you realize that there are other people like you, and it helps people find people like you. So when I say I'm a gender fluid person, right, if someone else said, oh, I'm gender fluid too, then I'm like, I understand them to some basis, right? I can like form a connection with them. So I feel like it's nice having labels as well. So yeah.
Bit of a connecting factor. Would you agree, Aditya?
Yes, I do that. But also, like, our society doesn't understand the Sogis issue that we are carrying every day with us. Like, Sogis are so fluidity that hello, the Sogis are so fluidity that people needs to be understood, and we shouldn't be tag somebody else in the gender form. You know, beyond gender, male and female, there are like other genders as well in the societies. So we shouldn't be tagging them as a him or them or he or she. Instead of him or they or she, we can just call them by their names rather than tagging to, you know, keep a tagness. So that's what I prefer. And as I belongs to like disabled and plus a gay man, like people find me so amazing. Like they just give me a tag called like whether you have to fit into this box or that box. You can't be two at the same time. So this kind of the you know the stereotypes questions and the taggings is going on. So like seeing the scenario of our society, Nepalese society is different. Though you guys are well educated, I know you are well aware about this Sogis issue and LGBT issues that we can talk freely about anything. So I'm much comfortable talking about you about anything else. But when I go to in the reality of society that I live in, that is so devastating, and they doesn't understand about these Sogis issues, LGBTI queerness, what are these terms and where from they came, like this kinds of question every day that I go through it. So for me, like right now I'm able to like speak with you in front of you guys explaining my inner feelings, so I'm much comfortable. But when the society, my own family doesn't understand and they give a tag every time that I do, it's like kind of hell for me. So that's what I.
So you brought up a term that maybe not many of us are familiar with. Can you break down what SOGI stands for?
SOGI is standard for like sexual orientation, gender identities, and sexual characteristic and sexual specific. So when you have different sexual orientation and sexuality, you have different kind of sexuality. We don't fit into the society that is given, that is tagged by the society. Okay, as I identify myself as sexual orientation is a gay. I do have a different feelings of like a ladies. I want to wear a like makeup. I want to wear a bangles. I do have in my hand. You can see as well. So this kind of feelings usually the people doesn't. So when I show my feelings and my sexual orientation or any kind of activities that is beyond what society imagine, I was tagged. I was always flagged out between all the heterosexual people because oh you are feminine, oh you can't be this, oh you are inch, that means hijada and sokka. So this kind of things and the nickname are always given for us because they doesn't understand what is sogis stand for, what is sogis, why people, the youth, we should express our sogis in the society. So this kind of, so I think you guys can also add.
It's kind of having to balance between how open can we be and how much in the closet do we also have to be, which is quite frustrating sometimes for all of us, I'm sure. I don't want to speak for everybody, but at least in my personal experience, right? And like adding on of where your family understands you, but they also don't understand you at the same time. How do you even balance that? And I think
I
that's
would like to add
yeah.
one more thing. My one of the sister is like Christian, and she doesn't understand. Like she says me, you are a man. You should act like a man instead of wearing a girl's dress or the girl's pants. You shouldn't be doing this. Otherwise, my society will be bullying me and also will harass her. Okay. And the other bigger sister of mine, she is in Pokhara, and she says, "Oh, you have a boyfriend? I love to meet him." Oh, yeah. And I do. I think it was in 2015. I took my one of Indian boyfriend to her house, and she was like, again. Then she started like, "Oh, he's Indian." Like I can't satisfy everyone in every trauma. So like somehow the one of the parties like they have accepted me somehow, but the other part, if I see they doesn't accept me because of the knowledge differences. They have so totally like not constructive, but they have so like their mind are not so much broad up, they are not open up in the Nepalese society. So like they act how they have the education level of the education. So this is what I go through.
What do we think about expression? Gender and expression are not the same thing, correct? Yeah?
I feel like people give gender to like non-living things, which is so unnecessary. Like, why do colors need gender? You know what I mean? It's just there's a lot of things that we do need to unlearn. It's been so like grounded in us since childhood, and even gender reveals still date. If it's pink, it's a girl. If it's blue, it's a guy. Like, who gave gender to colors? And not just that, like when even like straight people need to understand, straight men need to understand that wearing makeup, wearing nail polish, wearing bangles, whatnot, that doesn't define your sexuality. Like how you express yourself, how you express your creativity, it does not define your sexuality. Like me, before I came out as a gender fluid individual, I did think that I was a girl, she, her, and Sunny. But then I always had short hair, and throughout my childhood, everyone used to be like, "Oh, you're a guy. You're not a girl," Sunny. And then like I grew up like that, and it was like hair has gender now, which like that's so funny to me because I don't know. And then when I accepted it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a guy now," and they're like, "No, you're a girl." There's no winning. So at some point, you just need to feel at home with yourself, the way that you express yourself. It's for yourself. If you live every day and if you change the way you look, change the way you do things so that other people can feel comfortable around you. That's not going to do you any good. You should feel comfortable in your own skin. So however your expression comes out, you should just let it come out. If you want to wear nail polish as a guy, if you want to wear makeup as a guy, you can, you know, as a girl, if you want short hair and all that, it's fine as well. And Theo, you gotta like educate other people as well, because even though we as, you know, people are aware that these things don't have gender vanilla, I feel like we need to kind of like correct people around us as well, you know, or like correct Vandapani, teach them so that they can help unlearn stuff as well.
You actually bring up a funny point. How many of us here have ever gendered our vehicles? Most raise of hands. Do you gender any of your vehicles, electronical devices? No one? Don't be shy. No one's gonna judge you.
Oh my god, like people, scooter, when guys.
There we go, right? It's a very common misconception. Like, I feel like a lot of my friends, when they talk about their own vehicles or their electronic devices, all gender them female. Why? Do we ever stop to think about that? Just a funny, random thought.
Even ships as well, like she, when it was in ships, are living, oh, they need maintenance. When it,
so many things need maintenance. Our entire lives, society needs maintenance. But yeah, so that's like we don't think about the things that we gender.
Not just
and it
that,
just,
like
it happens just automatically.
When guys, like, they ride scooters, they're like, oh, why are you riding a scooter as a guy? You should have gotten a bike.
Guilty. Sorry, I'm exposing myself.
No, I think, yeah, because when I bought my first scooter, so my sister came to me and she said, "Oh, why didn't you got a bike?" I was like, "I'm more comfortable on scooter because it makes me feel safe." And she's like, "No, this is for us." Now, you know, so she had like that mentality of like, "Oh, so the scooter is gonna be mine now," in a way, or there or here, because she actually thought that I was gonna go get a bike after like a year or two or like something like that. And so actually, I had three sisters. I have. So it's the communal decision of my sisters saying, "Oh, we want the scooter now," which they have already. Now they have taken it by horse or by force. But yeah,
Also, there's this scooter ad where they're like, why should boys have all the fun? But
I mean, fair enough. Scooters are very, I mean, not just compact, but they hold a lot of storage, which is great. So there's practical.
it's very safe.
It's practical.
Even in the food, have you noticed chotpate that has to be eaten by the only girls, right?
Yeah.
Right? And the boys, they can't. This kind of things is still in the existence.
guys are like kind of ashamed about eating bananas in front of her. Even sausages.
As a very more masculine expression panel here, which wasn't on purpose. Our issue is while we try to strive for diversity, a lot of us aren't always comfortable being out in public. So it's always a balance. We are not a full representation of the queer community here. There's a lot more to it. But this is at least just a small snippet. Just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of this. We are not spokespeople. We're speaking from our own experiences. But yeah, it's just, as a very masculine centric panel, like the things that we perceive and also the things that like, oh, what is feminine to us? We've grown up as being like raised as girls, right? Quote unquote girls, because gender binaries, we don't like that. And then having to, as we just sort of move forward and learn more about, oh, masculinity, that's more of our comforts. Well, then on the opposite side, we've literally divided ourselves like this. Why? On the opposite side, both of you being gay men and also dabbling into, oh, we have to be masculine, but then femininity is a huge part of your expression. As someone who is fluid, like in your dance work, right? It's very fluid. The movements, fluidity is tailored to femininity, right? When you're doing some of your art expressions, when you're talking, like your own movements, femininity. And yet people question that, right? People say that's wrong. We're doing something wrong. Are we though? Let's discuss. What are we doing wrong or right?
We are actually not wrong. For my perception of knowledge, I think we are not wrong. It's just the society haven't allowed us to express our feeling in front of the people, you know. When we express our feeling into them, they just tag us, or they just discriminate us, they just bully us. That's the main reason. Otherwise, this showcase issue has been always there in the society, but has never spoken out, or neither it has never been shown. Okay. So when I talk about my disability and as I am being a gay, like this is so unrealistic for me, but within the community of marginalized LGBTI community, they hate me because I belong to the both the community. They doesn't accept me as I am. Okay. So I have been fighting since like I have to fight with the society, my family, and again with the LGBTI community. I opened out my sexuality in 2013. That, and just to little bit my history.
Go ahead.
When I open out in the radio program, like in social media, next day I got a call and they like boycott my study. I was in a bachelor second year. They boycott my study. I was dropped out from my home. I had to be in the street and again fight along with the LGBT community. So still I'm fighting. So when you express your feelings, it has to deal always with the societies or your surrounding or the feelings that what other people thinks about you. You know, it's very challenging to express, but it has never been. I was not influenced by the Western culture. It was within inside my heart. My feeling was, and I didn't get to express it because my community, my society, everybody was, pushing me down. So they were not allowing me to come forward and to speak out loud. That's what I felt.
So my case of opening up, let's say opening up, has been very different to me because I I started my work as a dance assistant choreographer, and then I moved into Zumba. But what actually helped me to move on with my life, or the people that were around me who were still bullying me, but I was a person who always believed in myself, making it, taking it in a different sense. Like, I accepted me the way I am, and I just, being a very expressive person, I'm such an expressive person. Even if I'm angry with someone, I'll just go to the person and be like, you know what? I'm angry with you. Like, I am so expressive person. And for me, like, yes, my art has helped me to express myself in a very different way. But I was, I think, no, I didn't know I was mentally stronger back then because I was looking for who am I as a person. But by the time it came, I think I saw myself growing to a stronger person when life challenged me because I was different. My friends made joke about me because I was different. But when I accepted me the way I am, and I loved the way I am, I started taking care of the way I was, and everything just changed. Like, literally everything just changed. In like, if I go and meet someone, they'll be like, "Oh, we're so proud of you now." Like, those person who'd like literally bully me back then, like 5, 6 years back. But now they're like, "Oh, we're so proud of you, man. We are so proud of you. You're doing so good." I was like, "Thank you so much." That I take it as an gratitude or appreciation. But there was always this battle inside me, like who I was. And then the battle of what other things who I am. Because I think somehow being a person, I think what the battle inside us is the hardest, rather than thinking what other things about us, because that's the battle you fight inside. Because the at the moment, what I always tell myself is like, you know what? You're unique. You're born unique. Break the barriers. That's why you're standing here. And then I always tell myself, it's like, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And you just, no matter what people says, love yourself, go ahead, express yourself. I have a lot of feminine energy. I'm more than welcome. I love my feminine energy so much because that feminine energy helps me to nurture, care, share love, experience, have that every single thing that society thinks a woman has and a man has. I have everything. I have the Like I have everything.
and you slay at it. Yes. But yeah, sometimes it feels like it's like an us versus them scenario, right? Like, well, why though? Do we fight for against ourselves in our own communities? Do we fight for others in our communities? Like, it's so challenging trying to find the balance always, especially when you're first coming out. We're always fighting with ourselves when we first come out, right? And then after that, who are we fighting? We're fighting to make people understand ourselves. After that, we're fighting for just to be recognized as ourselves. And then after that, just fighting for people to be like, hey, give a crap about us. We are important. Don't just talk about yourselves. It's more than just, the cis heterosexual community. It's not just that binary and just pushing against
like I
that.
said as well, we have existed for a very long time. Ani, something that I hear a lot from the older generation or even, queer people from the older generation is like, the youth these days, they have like too many labels. Like, where are all these like new things coming from? Like, are you guys just making stuff up? Like, Gunzani? But then that's the thing is, we are experimenting as well, and we are finding out that there's more than just like in Nepal. If you look at it, when you say you're like queer or you're not straight, they think you're either gay, you're either bi, or you're a lesbian. And occasionally they include trans people as well if they feel like it, right? And it's like,
Trans people is always an afterthought.
I know,
Story of our lives.
but then we have existed for a very long time. Even like goddesses and gods as well, they have been like of both genders as well, and they have been genderless as well. But then, oily, just because we have given it a different name, we have given it a different label, suddenly people feel uncomfortable about it. And they think that we're making stuff up and that we're going through a phase, whatnot. But that's the thing, like, who are we fighting with? It's like we have to fight this battle inside ourselves, and then we have to fight this battle outside with other people, even from the queer community. Like, as a gender fluid person, right, I had to like struggle a lot to even think, am I allowed to be gender fluid? Because there was this whole notion where like there was a set community of like trans people who would say that, oh, how convenient for you to be gender fluid, because they did struggle a lot to like shift from one gender to another when they realized that they're not from that binary, right? But then me, I'm like, whenever I feel like masculine, I can, like call myself he banera, and whenever I feel feminine, I can call myself she banera, which in a sense, yeah, it does sound very like convenient, but it's just the emotion that I feel. And to like cover that up, to again like even Justin's and like me having to call myself trans bunny, that is another binary, that is another set box. So I don't feel like all these labels, I know we don't create for ourselves, we create so that other people can understand us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, we're always creating boxes and putting ourselves into boxes. But I mean, if, again, going back to the very first question, why labels? If it weren't for the labels, we wouldn't be able to understand the boxes otherwise, right? It's dichotomy. Like, what do you do without that? But, queer people have always existed, even if the words did not exist. Every identity has always existed, even if the words didn't exist, right? And that's something that we don't want to erase, but we also want to understand where it was in history that things had to be hidden. So, fun facts. I'm full of fun facts. I'm here all day. I have been here all day.
Do you have any more questions?
I have many questions for you. Many, but I wonder what questions you folks have as well. Ask amongst yourselves. Learn about each other. I'm sure there are questions. No, nothing? Don't be shy. I wouldn't call you up on stage otherwise.
My mind works slow at times, so maybe I'm thinking some questions because I really want to know. Like, so Aditya ko, like with Aditya, I attended we attended one of his sessions, and with that sessions he talked about like the disabilities and the people facing disabilities, like the LGBT people, and then how they are suffering from the whole scenario that's happening. And I'm really interested to know, like, what is actually the problem? Like, what do you think is the problem for the the disabled LGBT people that they are facing? One or maybe one, two reasons? Because I was very interested with the way you expressed yourself, and
Thank you, Smith, because I know Smith for a very long time. But that was my first time I spoke about disability LGBTI rights in front of other people in the Save the Children program. Yes. So talking about our issues, it's like we have been deprived from every aspect of societies. So right now, as I open my sexuality and my identity in front of the people, they doesn't understand because everybody knows like how LGBTI people are. LGBTI people, when we talk about LGBTI people, the society thinks only those person who have a proper body are LGBTI people. But people like me, where do I fit? Neither I fit in the LGBTI categories, neither I fit into the disabilities categories. So that is the question that I go every day with me myself. But beyond that, my community people are lacking from like health, um, health services, SDG goals, educations. Likewise, I told you before, I was boycotted from my education and I was boycotted from my home once I open out my sexual orientation with the family members. So we are lacking, our activism has not been open out or visibly we are not seen in the media or in the society because of due to the lack of improper interaction, because there are 10 different kind of disabilities and 10 different kind of disabilities have 10 different kind of sexual orientation and gender identities. That means you have to deal with very specific way with them, and that is very challenging for myself as being a leader to them. It's very challenging because I can't communicate with the person with a hearing problem. I can't communicate with them properly because they need a sign language interpreter right now, which is we don't have over here. So next time I would love to request, please have a sign language interpreter so my community people can listen to me and hear me properly. So there are I would love to say something about it. There was a two trans people in the Chiton area. They were doing a sex work at night and they were got hit by the truck. Actually, there was three. They were in the scooty at night and they were doing a sex work. They got hit by a truck. One of them got spot death. Two of them got amputated leg in that moment. Right now, I asked them their stories. I know their stories, but I asked them their background of economic condition. And now they are like neither they can do sex work, neither they can do the work in the offices or in anywhere, but they have now they are begging in the street, and that's how they are surviving. So they are trans, they belong to LGBTI community, they belong to disabilities people also. So this multiple intersection issues they are carrying like me, we go in the multiple and double discrimination every day through societies, through own community people, because they are not literally aware about this um, the disability LGBT issues, because we speak only about disabilities or either LGBTI. So you have to understand disabilities is different issues, LGBTIs are different, and both of the both of the category, I am the person that fits into both of the categories in the middle. Okay, so you have to speak now. I would love to request you everyone that from this moment, when you talk about LGBTI, female, heterosexual man, please at least say something about, say a word about disabilities, LGBTI rights also. Because we are different. Okay, but we are like you only. So that's it. I hope I get to make you.
no, I loved what you've said, and I loved what you've said, and I think all of us feel that they, because last time when we heard him. I
Yeah.
think he told something that we still have to see that part of the LGBTI people also. Like, and I was like, whoa, that boomed me, bro. And I'm like, and the moment I met him, I was like, Aditya, I'm really excited to talk to you. I really want to know what's more with what's the problem that you face so that we all people know, like, because these points should be heard. People
Yeah.
should hear what all the people go through, and this is
It's been like 22 years that Blue Diamond Society is working for LGBTI community people, but they have never spoken about my community people because they are not aware or they are not sensitized about disabilities LGBTI people. Okay, so last time I went to US in one of the conference, there I was like, everywhere I go, I calculate the disabilities people. Those belongs to my community. But there I saw only two people. That was me, but everybody, those people did not know I was like handicapped. Okay, but I saw one lady. She was from Australia and she had her own office. Thank God I saw at least her, and that was so good for me to see her. And well, I spoke with the main person over there, and she said like she doesn't want to talk about it because she was feeling so hesitant to talk about my disabilities issues. And like there are were like some of the people that doesn't want to include us in the conference. So that's what it was. Seeing the scenario of out western country and over here, it's almost similar because nobody wants to talk, nobody wants to hear about us, and the opportunities are very beyond of imagination. I don't get oftenly the opportunities here in Nepal as well. I have to fight, I have to request, I have to beg them to for me to like at least give a chance, at least give a chance, at least let's talk about it, because I'm well aware about my community, my issues, my the other things, but the societies and my communities are not aware. So that's what I'm trying to sensitize them slowly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's fight.
Let's fight.
No, we are not. We don't condone violence here. Um, no, I mean we don't think about intersections, and intersections are a huge thing, right? It's not just our identities. It is our identities because that's what intersections includes, but it's many facets of it, right? I mean, again, your intersections are between being gay man and a disability rights activist and having to balance that, right? I'm here coming as well. While I may be Nepali, I also have the background of Western education. Where do I fit in with my Western education in Nepal, where things are a little bit different sometimes, right? So it's like, okay, well, where's that balance? We're not just our identities, we're so much more than that. But there's no accessibility either. And that's the thing. I agree. We need more awareness and accessibility to like access to resources, which we don't always have, which is quite unfortunate. So many things to work on still.
My psychology teacher, hi. My psychology teacher used to always say that like half knowledge is always more scary than no knowledge. So I feel like when it comes to like disabled people as well, when it comes to like LGBT people as well, people already have this notion of us. So when you introduce yourself as a queer individual, they already have this image of you in their head, which limits them. Like it's already limiting you. So if you're open to new information in itself, if you're open to listening to people's like experiences, I feel like you can learn so much from every single person here, Ani, it limits you if you think you already know,
Yes, he just said something about teaching. So I have been teaching, I think, for my life. So I love teaching, and what I learned from teaching is that no matter who am I, how am my identity, what my identity is, my vision was always to teach my student what art is, how you do that. Okay, so if somebody loved my dancing, I'd go and tell them like, thank you so much, but this is how I did it. I did it from my heart. So being a teacher, it has helped me to at least go to talk to people and tell them that this is what I love doing, this is what my passion is, this is what my love for it. But at the same time, I am different. I am different with every single person I meet. So the like judgment, like how people judge you or how people does this, that to you. But I think, yeah, being a teacher, it really helps me to change, at least speak up about what I feel. Because maybe the teacher label gets that respect.
No, I think I agree with that. And also, I mean, some of us might not be here if it wasn't for the support of certain teachers in our own lives, right? So that's also something to think about. Without supportive people in our own lives, we wouldn't all be here. I mean, it's a morbid thought to think about, but I mean,
There's a big
mental
level of
health is a
privilege.
huge privilege. Like mental health, but like mental health is a huge issue within the queer community itself, which is unfortunate that there aren't more resources. Yeah, so many thoughts. I'm like, where do I even go to? Here's one question. How do we feel about visibility here in the queer community, like in Kathmandu, in Nepal? Is there enough of it? Is it better than it used to be? Or does there need to be more work?
Can I say something? Talking about visibility, we do have like the upcoming generation is coming out by themselves in the Blue Diamond Society where I work. Like the youth comes and they identify themselves as I'm a trans woman, okay, I'm a cross dresser, CD, okay, and I'm a gender fluidity. That's how they identify themselves. And when I think about my in 2013, I was like so left alone. I had no education. I was alone. I could not identify myself who I was, and I took a counseling in Blue Diamond Society. That's how I found out about my, Then after I came out in the media. Okay, so visibility it's growing on. The youths are coming out as they are free, and they are taking their freedom of rights. So, but while talking about the visibility in my perspective of disability LGBTI community, it's very less. And because we don't have lack of opportunities and we are not included in any kind of or any sort of program, because the people or the community only talk about the disabilities whether or the LGBTIs only, but they do not talk about disabilities LGBTI community people. So this needs to be focused, and the visibility of our community are very less. And as I told you, the interaction, the language barriers, the education barriers, the health barriers, there are so many barriers. But somehow I feel so good because some of them are started to coming out in the media, and some of them have already started working in the disabilities LGBTI issues right now. I feel very glad, but I really want to see like more changes in the community. I really appreciate that. I would appreciate because to my LGBTI disabilities people to come out and show their express in the society. So that's what I feel like.
Any last points from anybody?
There's a level of privilege here. Like there's a huge level of privilege here in Sunny. Like just us being able to sit here and talk about our issues and whatnot, right? But then when you think about just the outskirts of Kathmandu, it's so different from here. Like we have the resources to explore ourselves. The younger generation, we have so much access to information, right? The internet, whatnot. And like even spaces like this, we have spaces and we have like communities that have our back, that support us. But then if you just look at the outskirts of Kathmandu, there is still so much ambiguity, right? There's like so much questioning. It feels like a different world, Neke. So us with our privilege, I feel like we should be able to do more for somewhere outside of Kathmandu, because I feel like in Kathmandu you'll find people, you'll find access to information that will help you. But then like what about people not from Kathmandu?
That feels like a very good point to end on, actually, where it's like access of information. So taking that point, I'm gonna open up to the floor, and if anybody has questions or comments of like about information, yeah. So segue onto towards the audience. Thank you, Manon.
Yeah, it was lovely hearing your personal stories, but just to add on to this wonderful conversation we just had about LGBTQ and folks who are at the intersection, right? I think a common theme that we've actually at least that I thought that ran through all of your discussion was the fact that our institutions, social institutions, are not doing enough to protect us, right? So there needs to be something at the institutional level. I mean, really, harkening back to the conversation you were having about how you were very overtly discriminated by the system. That shouldn't happen. There should be laws in place there should be lawyers who should be advocating for protection for the LGBTQ people and folks with disabilities that protect folks from discrimination at all levels, be it from being open in school, you know what I mean, and or in employment too, because the discrimination starts very early when you're very visible and open. That's the reason why people, I don't think so people like, it's a choice for someone to stay in the closet, that it's not a choice that they stay in the closet because the world outside is so hostile, and the world outside is so hostile because there are no repercussions or consequences, legal consequences, for people who can actually discriminate against us. And it's not just about, like, I know bullying is a huge thing and that has deep psychological implications, but I think it also happens at an institutional level when a student is then prevented from enrolling in a school or appearing in an examination simply because of their identity, or taking on employment. So I think there needs to happen something at the legislative level, where there are laws in place that can properly protect us, and not just protect us, but there are actual, like, severe consequences in the event that the discrimination actually takes place. I think that needs to seriously be not just considered, but I think, since, like, Aditi was talking about how privileged of a group we are relatively, right? I think that's something that we all can kind of come together and work towards. I think that's the only comment I have. And thank you so much for a wonderful discussion. And really, I love the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I completely agree. Definitely, there needs to be more. There's a lot of issues in the system, systemic oppression, and it's people are trying to push things into motion, but trying to deal with the law system here, legal system, sometimes are very challenging. So kudos to the people trying to fight for the system, queer folks. But even then, these same queer folks are also having issues with the system itself.
I feel like everyone's fighting the system, The best you can do is be there for your, like, fellow queer unsani mates and all. And when they need support, you can be that beacon of help till they find something more solid, right? But then to some people, that in itself is enough for people to come out. Like me, Pani, if I didn't have a supportive mother, if I didn't have supportive friends, I wouldn't be here, like, so comfortable talking about myself, right? And
Agreed.
But then Blue Diamond Society, I believe they do, like, parent counseling as well. Yeah, they do parent counseling as well. If you have a parent who wants to learn more about gender, sexuality, and all that, they do provide that. But
yeah, there are services.
I have a Facebook page called Rainbow Family and Friends of Nepal. You guys can, I run that page. So I'm I'm a member of, like, a focal person of Rainbow Family members as well as the youth. So you guys can just go through the Rainbow Family and Friends of Nepal Facebook page. And if you have any kind of questions to ask, you can directly contact me, or you can visit Blue Diamond Society and have an counseling, or we can just have a random simple talk as the society does. So I love to have that one.
Perfect. Thank you, Aditya. Anybody else have some questions down here at Sam?
Hello. I love the conversation that you guys have. I think one of the comment that I have is, like, when we're talking about, like, teaching and education. So what percentage of, like, change that you're actually building to teaching? Because we do have, like, people in power that, are so quote unquote, like, educated, but, like, what's the use of, like, education if your knowledge, your attitude and practice does not come in reference to that education as well? Because right now, I think we all have been seeing a case that's, like, really famous, like a doctor is getting, like, by beating his wife because of the dowry system. So what amount of, like, educations, pertains to, like, actually bringing about, like, a change in our daily lives as well, if we don't, like, utilize our knowledge, attitude and practice on bringing about a change? So sometimes we just think about, like, giving education, and that becomes just, like, a superficial thing. And if we don't actually practice what we preach, so what can we do to, like, bring about change on that?
I have nothing. Anybody else? Yes.
Education, hello? Education always teach you how to be a good person. Okay, education gives you a good information of knowledge, diverse scientific reasons. So beyond education, it depends on the person how you take the education inside your mind. Okay, doctor is a doctor, he have lots of education, but the intention towards to discriminate towards his wife, that is out of his knowledge, because of jealousiness, because of his power that he have over the girls. That is the reason why he's being a head of the family, and that's how he, the characteristic of his perspective shows how is the person right now he is. So education is always good, but it depends on how the person perceives it and how he utilize the education towards the other human natures. That depends on the person intentions and the mentality of a person. That's what I believe.
Also love to speak about the question. So for me, like I've said, I have been teaching throughout my whole life. And I think I have the privilege of teaching not only the younger generations, but the people of every age, actually. So that actually helped me to at least know what their mentality, their thoughts stand for. And if I had a point like to raise, like, oh, okay, if they are having something conversation about LGBTI, I would obviously go and talk about it, no matter if even if I was not from the LGBT thing, I would still go and talk, because this is not only about the LGBT, it's about the human being like thing. So I would like to say something about one thing. There was a student, so there was an instructor who also had a very feminine energy. So he was teaching Zumba, and then he finished his class, and then one of the client went to him and pulled the pant and said, "I was just checking if you were a guy or a girl."
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. And he had that audacity to still be standing and say, "I was just checking." He was not even sorry for what he did. I was not there on the day, but I heard it. I got a message from the instructors like this happened. So the next day he didn't come, the third day he didn't come, but one day we had to face him eventually. So we all faced him, and I only said one thing. It's like, even if he was someone that you want appreciate that person as a human being. That person also goes through something. That person also has to like feel something. You really made him feel worse. I felt worse. You know, and he was still sorry, but I never thought he was sorry, but I was very happy to see all the instructors, all the people standing up for him and saying, "You were wrong. You are wrong."
Oh, the repercussions, the repercussions. Anything else from the crowd?
Can I add something?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sure. I feel like people say change begins from home, which can be very difficult for people because you can face the whole world, but then it's really difficult to face your family, right? But I feel like change begins from support. Like Amine, when we were growing up, if there was someone who, talked to us and said, what you're doing isn't wrong, what you're doing isn't like a bad thing, we would have been able to express ourselves so much earlier. Like we wouldn't have to fight this battle within ourselves for so long. So I feel like you just being there as a support system for someone, it helps a lot. Like Unsani, like you said, Funny, there were people who like made fun of us in school or whatnot, but then now they're like being supportive, and it's nice. But then if we had that support system from the beginning, right, it would have benefited us so much. But then now we are in a position where we can be that support system for someone. So if you can help someone, always do it. Yay.
We are our own supports and supports for each other at the same time. But yeah, anybody else have any other comments, questions? We will be free after this if if you're too scared to ask in a big group, to talk to us individually. Oh, there is over here. Mano, down here.
Good evening. Wonderful discussion. My name is Sebastian. I'm coming from Germany. And my question is hovering around the way forward and the boxing and the labeling. First, I have to say I'm a member of the cis community. And by the way, if I may share that, for the most part of my life, I didn't know that. And that was just a couple of years ago that somebody asked me, by the way, you as a cis man, what is your opinion on that? I said, like, I'm what now? Um, and I tell you that because like this boxing goes in both ways, right? And this labeling in boxing is paradoxically also something that supports stereotypes, right? Because like I'm really I like the fact that now we, or like most of societies in the world, they come up now with something that has always been there, and that much I very much agree about that one. But at the same time, it is always like, you know, this duality, the both sides of the coins. And what I wanted to ask you is that, given all that, for example, in Germany right now, all these big music festivals and so, there are now gender appointees and the commissaries and so on. And recently, even a lot of workshops were even banned for cis men, for example. Yeah. And that also gives me, of course, it raises the question for me. I mean, fighting fire with fire. And there we come to my question. I mean, the main topics we were talking about here also today is about belonging, is about identity, is about yeah, how do I see myself and so on. And that is not exclusive for the LGBTQI scene, right? And in terms of going forward, of course, I know about the discrimination and all these kind of stuff, especially here. I mean, Europe might be a little bit better, but it's not it's not a magical word as well, right? I know that from a lot of friends. So instead of like having this wagon mentality, yeah, we against them, we had that also here, in terms of looking more to what combines us, because especially that belonging, that is everybody who's growing up is dealing with that question. And my question for you is like, do you think it is much too early to more focus on that what combines us, because especially here, because of discrimination, because of really sometimes having really like pathological results, yeah? Or should that be a little bit more a part of the strategy to move forward? That would be my question.
That is a very interesting question. Thank you, Sebastian. I don't think it's ever really too early to start learning about issues, because if you start them young, as the saying goes, then at least there's more understanding. Because most of these discrimination things are all learned behaviors, right? As we grow up, we pick up the behaviors of our parents, of society, like the way people act. We pick it up from there. If we grow up in a very open environment, we ourselves become more open, right? So that would be my point to add. Anybody have anything to add on? Something different, perhaps?
Uncomfortable conversations are so important. Like, I saw this tweet that was like, I don't have pronouns. This cis man is like, I don't have pronouns. And people call you he. That's a pronoun, right? And it's like, take up space, you know, like even as a cis man, you do have knowledge of all this, you know, so even your cis counterparts, you could talk to them, which, you know, like people, they don't start conversations because it's hard to approach it, but then you got to learn how to take up space, and you got to learn how to, you know, start uncomfortable conversations as well, because that is how you start change, in my opinion.
I think in general, and as an add-on, we need cis allies who are understanding of issues in the LGBT plus community to start these conversations as well. We can't do it ourselves. We've tried. We get oppressed, right? We all agree. So we need people to sort of add on and push these conversations, correct people when you get names and pronouns wrong, introduce yourselves. The best thing as an ally is when you introduce your name, tell us your pronouns. Because as trans people, then it's also, we recognize being like, oh, this is a safe person. They won't judge us for our identities. But just educating ourselves and then using that, like educating yourselves, we educate ourselves along the way, as a tool to educate others. And us as privileged to be able to hold talking forums like this is a huge help, because then we get everybody to come out, participate, listen, learn. Without that engagement, we can't really move forward, to be quite honest. So hold on, let's pass you a microphone.
And this is the change that we need in our society and the community, and cisgender or cis heterosexual, anything I call. So I think we are doing a change. To bring a change, we need to be change ourselves, and we need to have like perspective of knowledge, depth knowledge about every corner. So that's change everybody, and that's everybody gets the equal right in the society. So that's what I think.
Do you have any last thoughts to add, Smith?
I like what all of you have said. So, but if I have to say something, I just want everyone to know their worth. That is one of the challenge in life we all go through. But if you know your worth, you know everything. With worth comes respect. With worth comes love. With worth comes everything like humbleness, gratitude, like being grounded. I think, yeah, take up space. Just know your worth. Enjoy the journey, and don't calculate your thoughts what other has to say, because you are the king of your life. That's what I have to say.
I feel like that's a
Like empathy is so powerful. I don't think people give empathy enough credit. But then you don't need to understand someone to be there and be supportive to them. And sometimes all that someone needs is someone to sit there and listen to them. So even though, you can be like, even though I don't understand what you're going through or I can't relate to it, just know that I'm there for you when it is in LA, That is enough sometimes. That's all you need.
I think those are two very good points to end on: empathy and know your own worth. So with that, I'm going to actually pass this back over, give the floor back to Onlo to wrap this up.
Also, please feel free to ask questions about the paintings also, and our fellow artists who painting Pani, they're so amazing.
Yes, I forgot to mention properly. So as part of this, there's panelists, and we also have two artists, one of them being Aditi and the other, well, Megaja, who is not here anymore. As in they've already left. Let me clarify here. They are still here, they've just left. So two amazing queer artists in the community. So check out their artworks display on the back, and they can also be found on social media if you have questions to ask them as well. So yeah, back to you, Anno.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for your courage to talk about also really personal things in front of everybody today. I know it's not easy, so thank you a lot for that. I have few thank you to say, so yeah, I'm gonna be quick. I want to thank the French Institute, because it's thanks to them that we could organize these 3 cycles of debates. I also obviously want to thank my great team. So Manon, who organized all these events held by Mathilde, and Suresh, chairing with the chef of the bistro, who is here today too. Yeah, thank you so much to all of you. Thank you to Jitesh and his team for the sound and lights, because now it's night. And we will have a video also. I also wanted to thank Subarna, who is here today, because we have 3 movies. One is still happening today. So we have a French movie, a Nepali movie, and a Kenyan movie. We have English subtitles so everybody can understand. The next one today is me, myself, and Mam, Les Garçons et Guillaume à table. And you can check tomorrow for the one who live close by. It's it's happening from the morning to afternoon. Voilà. Yeah, sorry. No, just last thing is the next event we're going to have at Alliance Française this year. So the next one is on the 3rd of December, and it's going to be about waste workers, like I said earlier. It's going to be at Moksh in the afternoon on a Saturday. And we also are going to have a Christmas market like every year. Christmas every day. So it's going to be on the 10th of December, Saturday too, all day in this garden. So I hope to see you again here soon. And thank you again, everybody.